This is Claire Warlick, and this is my international speech. In Mexico, a mutilated woman hung from a bridge in the border city of Nuevo Laredo is a one-day story quickly forgotten. 5 severed human heads dumped near an elementary school in Acapulco is a 5-paragraph news item. Whose heads? Why? Because this violence is occurring in another country does not decrease its relevance to our lives, and should cause no less outrage from us as it would if it had occurred here. People are still people. I have done some research on the drug cartel, and this topic is very relevant to me because I live in the state of Texas, so Mexico is really the bordering country to us, so that's why I think I have credibility and interest in this topic. The growing drug business in Mexico is a problem for nations all around the world due to the incredible violence, expense, and political tension created by it. First, I'm going to talk about how this problem is costing the United States and other countries lots of money. Then I'll talk about just how much violence is going on in and around Mexico because of this. Finally, I'm going to talk about how this is affecting the global community politically. Many Americans would agree that the U.S. government sometimes spends money on things that seem unnecessary and avoidable, and perhaps this is one of them. The drug trade in Mexico is costing the U.S. people too much money. This is someone would consider this as a Mexico flag, but if you zoom in closer, you can see that this is making a big statement. This is obviously drugs, and this is blood, so this is representing the drug cartel. The expenses for drug control efforts come from the U.S. government. The U.S. government is funded by taxes paid by the people, so therefore the people of the U.S. are paying for other people's irresponsibilities using drugs. According to whitehouse.gov, in support of the 2014 National Drug Control Strategy, the president requests $25.4 billion in fiscal year 2015 to reduce drug use and its consequences in the United States. Drugs in general are costing the U.S. money in ways that people sometimes don't realize. Drugs are one of the biggest reasons for crime and incarceration in America. According to SimianAssociates.com, taken together, these costs, crime, health, and productivity, total $193,096,930, with the majority share attributable to lost productivity. The findings are consistent with prior work that has been done in this area using a generally comparable methodology. Drugs are one of the biggest reasons for crime and incarceration in America, so that's why. In addition to costing the U.S. too much money, the drug trade is an issue to people everywhere because of the violence it causes. Oh. Okay. Okay, so this is, according to whitehouse.gov, $6,120 per second is the estimated cost of drug use to the U.S. society, and that is in lost productivity and healthcare costs, among other things. Okay. Now I'm going to talk about the violence it causes. The amount of, the drug business in Mexico is a problem to people everywhere because of the violence it causes to innocent people. Martin Luther King Jr. once said that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. People often consider violence in other countries to be less extreme or important than violence in their own country, which is wrong and dangerous because violence in other countries can therefore affect our injustice. According to a tally reported by the Peña Nieto administration on FAS.org, in February 2013, 26,121 Mexicans were reported missing over the course of the Calderon administration. The registry had been compiled under the Calderon government, but was never published. The amount of deaths that have occurred from this ongoing war should be enough to cause an international outcry. If this many people were dying in the U.S., people would be very upset. No one knows, according to Yale.edu, no one knows exactly how many people have died in this war. The government released a tally of deaths due to criminal rivalry late last year, a total of 34,612. Despite promises of updates, it has been silent since. Newspaper tallies, estimates by academics and testimony by U.S. anti-narcotics officials put the current toll somewhere between 45,000 and 60,000. Okay, so this is a graph of the drug-related executions from 2009 to 2006 to 2009, and you can see that this is 2006, and it has risen drastically within just 4 years are shown, but within just 3 years it has risen drastically, just from drug cartels and drug-related deaths. Okay, while the violence has also been caused by this war is atrocious and absolutely disturbing, it is also disrupting international politics. This war on drugs in Mexico is severely impeding and disrupting the international politics of the nation. The vast majority of drugs produced and trafficked in Mexico are consumed in other nations, but mostly the U.S. This foreign consumption creates yet another black market for drug transportation, further funding the cartel and its violence. According to RAND.org, U.S. demand for illicit drugs creates markets for Mexican drug trafficking organizations, also called DTOs. The consumption of Mexican drugs by foreign countries funds the cartel and gives it its power. The problems faced by the Mexican people from the cartel are not caused by the people. Okay, according to Yale.edu, the U.S. is the world's largest consumer of drugs. It comprises just 5% of the global population, yet most estimates suggest that the U.S. accounts for over 25% of global demand for illicit drugs. At the same time, Mexico is the U.S. largest supplier of illicit drugs and an increasingly significant supplier of drugs to many European nations. Furthermore, in recent years, Mexico has been affected by an epidemic of violence stemming from organized crime of unprecedented proportions. The international politics of the nation are, however, just one of the many things being negatively affected by the presence of the cartel in Mexico. So this is a picture that was taken about 2 months ago, and this was taken at a drug cartel leader's house, and it's about $430 million that was busted, and this is how this is affecting international politics, because these people have more power than sometimes government officials, and they have so much power with this much money. Okay. The growing drug business in Mexico is a problem for nations all around the world due to the incredible violence, expense, and political tension created by it. I talked about how it cost the U.S. so much money. It caused violence in Mexico and areas around it, and it affected the global community politically. The many problems being caused by the cartel in Mexico are certainly wicked and ruthless enough to merit a response from the global community. The unwarranted, unapologetic nature of the violence and detriment to the country's political agenda are truly disturbing. In addition to this violence, the motivation for intervention from other countries can surely stem from the monetary and political impacts of the actions of the cartel. When will these people get the justice they deserve, and when will the cartel be held accountable for its actions, and when will the violence end? Thank you.